moving on to the motor installation here. I've got the cowl, got the motor, already put the snout and the X mount on it. Okay, a little change of plan here. You'll see in the rest of the video where I had the motor the other way around. Once I got it all together and done, I realized that you can't use the spinner unless you use this adapter, which only works if the prop is, or the shaft is the other way in the motor. So that'll go on there. Then this will go on like so. Then the prop, then when that clamps down, this here is at an angle, it'll clamp the shaft. So that's how that's going to work. So I'm going to remount the motor here. So what you got to do, or what I had to do on this one, is get the screws out for here, take a little, it's got a little tiny clip like that, and then there's a little washer on the back side of the motor. Take those off, get the shaft out, and then I turned it around. You probably could just simply shove it back through this way and then put the collar in the washer on this side, and then tighten these down again. So, but anyways, you got to get your spacing just right, because this only goes so far, because you want it to hit all the way on there. That's how I'm going to have this one. So once I get it on there and together, we'll show you the finished project. So like I said, the rest of the video will show this the other way around. I have the plane complete, but dove back into it to swap this around. So don't forget the little set collar, bolts, washers, cowl screws. So it shows here you're going to have to put a bunch of screws in there because it's offset for the torque. So you're going to have to bring the motor back over with some washers, get an angle on it so it's going out the right spot in the cowl. And the cowl is only going to fit in one place because of how it's got the holes and screws and everything is already done. So you're going to have to just kind of test fit, put some washers under the motor, test fit the cowl, see how it looks kind of deal. So that's what I'm going to do next. Here's the motor I'm using. It's Turnigy SK Aero Drive 4250 410. Links for everything I use here will be in the description of the video, as with all my videos. Finally got the motor mounted and set up right to go through the hole in the cowl once it's in place. Here's the ESC we're going to use. Link in the description below. I'm going to have to solder it onto there. This comes with the little, what do you call it, a bullet connector. So I'll have to charge that up, solder it on there, make sure everything looks good. I'm going to be running a wood prop on this baby, it looks like. And yeah, so the cowl will go on there and everything will be centered. So you can see I had to use a bunch of washers here and there, and you're going to have to fiddle. They'll probably all be a little bit different maybe, but I got 2 on that one. Looks like 4 on that one. I'm at 5 or 6 on these 2, something like that, to get it just right. You guys can maybe count if you want to on there, but yeah. So I'm going to get the ESC hooked up, get the cowl screwed on, get the prop on, and then the nose will be done. Then we're going to be setting up the receiver and the servos for the elevators and rudder, so that'll be next. Got the ESC soldered up, everything went the right way when I powered it up. Everything shoved down on the fuse. Now we're going to put the elevator and rudder servos in. Here's what we're going to use for those. Nice looking servos. And then we'll do the pull, and we'll come back once that's all done. Playing with the radio and some stuff here. So here's how I did servos. The ones I had were a little bit short, so I had to add some plywood in there, glued in really well to fill the void. You can see I put a little bit of a kink in there to make it line up with the servo better. Always do all that before you cut the end off. That one's just perfectly long enough. And then the pull for the rudder, I put twisty links up here, and then on the back I did not use any, but These little digital servos are pretty sweet. Pretty stoked about those, pretty nice. Let me flip it over and I'll show you how I did the connections back at the rudder. Here's the elevator also. You can see I put a little dog leg in it to make it short or square, because otherwise it was coming way back in here. You want stuff to be in line. So for the rudder, I just went through the holes on here because it said to put these on here, but then when the rudder turns they jam into here, so you really can't. So I just went through there. Hopefully that'll last. Pretty simple. Should be good. So up in here, I just, in front of the plastic piece, I took my knife and made a little puncture and fed the wires. There's a little bit of wood above and below, so it kind of goes between and it doesn't touch anything. Trying to remember, pretty sure I crossed them up here. Actually, I did not. If I can get you guys down in there. It's hard to see. So I did not cross these wires. Typically you'll cross them like this, but when I did, they were rubbing on the back of the fuse underneath, so I just did them straight. So I see I'm going to have to tighten those up a little more, but anyway, yeah. So that's how I did that. I got my receiver mounted here. Obviously you've got to do a range check and test that, and then we'll know if that's a good placement or not. This is the wire from the speed control. The battery goes into a tray which screws into there. We'll cover that in a little bit, but I'm just kind of working on little bits here and there. And yeah, so we're getting close. Lower wings are on for the first time. You'll take the shorter spar tube, run that through the middle, then the wings will slide in. There's that little phenolic tab will go through the side of the fuse. There's a little pin in the front and back. I had to kind of sand the slot in the fuselage where that phenolic fits through to make it slide in a little easier, and other than that though, everything fit on there great. It looks pretty cool. So we're going to move on to getting the rest of the top wings and the rest of the struts on. Getting the wings attached here, getting the top wing attached. So we got all the little cabanes or whatever you're going to want to call them, struts and whatever here, all installed and put on. So this is what I'm going to do. You can see it kind of, if you see it to the leading edge of the bottom wing, it's got a lot of flexibility in it and where it's going to lie. So I'm going to get the top wing totally on and all the struts, not the flying wires, but just all the struts and whatever BS in there with the screws or in bolts, and then I'm going to get it square and tighten everything down kind of in one piece. That way I can line up the leading edges and make sure they're square to each other and measure everything, because you want them to be right for it to fly right, right? Getting closer, getting a bunch of the struts on here. They all go one specific way. Instructions kind of explain how to do that here. The middle ones obviously use the shorter ones. They're only going to kind of go one way. These other ones, if you just kind of throw them on, you could get them on wrong. Things to note is this C, the middle one, has like a double cut on it, and that goes up there so it clears. Yeah, and it gives measurements as well. I measured mine. They did not come out to what the book says. But here is the problem I had is piece A. Would not fit. And here is the stock piece A, and here's how I had to measure it or modify it to get it to fit into mine. So we'll show you here what that looks like. So here is how it comes stock. You can see there is no way it is even going to fit in there whatsoever. So first thing I did was notch the bottom to clear the other strut there, and then I start cutting away at the top to get it to where it fits, and then you drill the hole. Now it fits. So put it in there, or let me see here, we do the top first, and then you kind of push up on it. It's kind of hard to do one-handed, but bang. So there you go. Your mileage may vary. All the strut bolts are tight, everything is solid, square, looks great. Now we're going to move on to the flying wires, so might be kind of hard to see here. But there's a ton of these babies, a ton of these, and in another bag is these little black foam pieces with holes in them. So these long flying wires are going to be the ones in the wing. So it says to add these foam pieces. There's going to be 2 per pair, I guess you should say, so like such. So I'm going to start screwing ends on and getting that all together and putting all them flying wires on. Just finished all the flying wires. Looks sweet. It looks sweet. It's a tedious, time-consuming thing, but look at how good that looks. So here's what those foam pieces look like on there. Everything is on. Awesome. Yep, I like it. Very cool. Now we'll work on installing the linkages here to join the ailerons. Okay, so here's the pieces. You're going to have these rods, screw these into there, and screw those onto those. Both sides. Aileron linkages are on, or whatever you would want to call these things. See, they work fine. Just go on there with a screw on each end. And that's it, piece of cake. And as you've seen though in the picture, I'll show a picture after this of how much I had to shorten them because they were way too long to fit. Your mileage may vary. Basically what I did is screwed one end out, put the linkages onto here, and leave this on one of them, and you can see, could tell how much you'd take out. So I cut that much out, and inside here is just a brass insert. So you'll cut it below the brass insert. You'll take a razor blade, and I just kind of cut the material off of the insert, put some CA inside this carbon tube, shove the insert back in business. Next up, we're going to work on the cockpit detail, get the pilot in there and stuff like that. So here's all those parts. The really cool instrument panel, looks great. So yeah, a bunch of pieces here in one of the bags, so let's get going. So the first thing I did was I got the instrument panel in there. Now it says to take the stick off here, but I didn't have to. It did okay, and that just glues on to that linkage. Then, I'm not sure why they did this, but they've got this plastic piece, and you glue that onto the bottom. You want the outline to fit kind of the outline in there. Then Mr. Pilot fits right down into that, and then you can just put a little glue on him. Probably or not, but I would. He sticks in there pretty good, but I'd be worried about him falling out. So do that, and then this here actually goes back here first, and then it comes with this felty stuff. Where did I see that? Oh, right here it goes. So it goes onto the actual fuselage with screws. So yeah, now I'm not sure what that means, but I did have to, you see it done here, I did have to grind a little notch into that piece there for the canopy to come off because it was hanging up on there. So I'll come back once I get all these pieces on. So there's the completed canopy and scale bits all installed, pilot's glued in, everything's in place. I just took this thing here and I glued it on instead of screwing it on. So I took kicker and I sprayed it onto the fuselage. Then I kind of preformed this to make sure how it would fit. Then I put just a good thick bead of CA on the bottom of this, and then just kind of started in the middle and worked it down, and it stuck in place. So to take this off, you just push the little stick, pop it up. There you go, just like so. Works great. Here's how they want you to do the battery. This thing has a battery tray because you got to slide the battery way up into the nose here for balance. That way you don't have to add any nose weight. But Or I guess we'll find out. But anyways, so here you can see, so I've got my battery on the tray. The problem is my battery is a little bit too thick for these straps to fit. If you can see in there, it's got to fit underneath some plywood stuff. So I think what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to do away with the strap. I'm just going to put a lot of Velcro on there, and I don't think it'll go anywhere. So that's how I'm going to do mine. But if your battery fits, maybe a 4000 would be just small enough. I tried a 5000, it won't fit in there at all. So you're going to have to do maybe a 3 to 4000 if you want to use one of these straps. So just so you know. Here it is, the first time all together. Cowl on, prop on. Thing looks awesome. I can't wait to see how that shows up in the sky. It's going to be crazy. It's beautiful. Alright, well, with everything else finished here, it's decal time. So here we go. So decal note here. These are not water slide. They're kind of a peel and stick, but what you do is you cut them out, and cut them out bigger than what I did. I was really careful on cutting them out, but you don't have to because the protective film comes off. So once you put them on, then you push them down really good, take this protective cover film off. All that's left is the sticker, or the decal. That's just so awesome. There you go, another tip for you. There it is, look at that. Got the sweet decals on there. I like it. Just a cool little touch, make it look good. Alright, so I did the CG as well. It said 105 millimeters, if I remember right from the manual, from the leading edge of this back, which I made my little CG marks in there. And with my 4200 in there, it balances perfectly. So, yeah, at this point, I think we're ready to let it rip. Got to do some good range checks. You always got to do range checks, make sure your motor's running. Do your due diligence there to make sure everything is kosher. Check your throws, expo. Make sure everything's good to go before you power it up and go for your maiden. So, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you stay tuned for the maiden. It's going to be amazing. If you have any questions, put them down below in the comments and I'll answer every one. Don't forget to follow the links in the description, and thanks for stopping by.